il congiuntivo, the subjunctive, a topic that is feared by many Italian learners and also Italian speakers. In fact, there is this song called Il congiuntivo, the subjunctive, by Lorenzo Baglioni, that talks about how we should be using the subjunctive correctly in Italy. Today we are talking about the 3 main uses of the subjunctive in Italian. Iniziamo! Ciao, sono Margherita, your host and content creator for Italian learners. Today we are talking about a more advanced topic, the subjunctive. Download your guide at italianmatters.com/45. Let's go straight to the point. What do we mean by subjunctive? The subjunctive is a mood in Italian used to talk about doubts, demands, possibilities, hypotheses, and subjective thoughts. Subjunctive, subjective. The first main use of the subjunctive in Italian is when the verb of the main clause indicates an opinion, a doubt, or a thought. What do I mean with main clause? It means that we have 2 clauses, that is, 2 verbs, that together form a sentence. The verb of the main clause indicates an opinion, a doubt, a thought. The verb in the dependent clause is going to use the subjunctive. For example, penso che Marta sia a casa. I think that Marta is at home. Penso is our main clause that uses a verb that indicates a thought. Penso, I think. And then we have the dependent clause, che Marta sia a casa, that Marta is at home. Sia is our subjunctive. There are specific keywords that we can memorize so that we remember when we should be using the subjunctive in Italian. In this first case, the 4 keywords that we must remember are credere, to believe, pensare, to think, immaginare, to imagine, dubitare, to doubt. So when you see these verbs in the main clause, you know that they are used to indicate an opinion, a doubt, a thought, and so the verb in the dependent clause is going to use the subjunctive. The second main use of the subjunctive is when the verb in the main clause indicates a hope, a wish, a desire. For example, mi auguro che loro stiano bene. I hope that they are doing well. If we divide the sentence mi auguro che loro stiano bene in the main clause and the dependent clause, we get that mi auguro, I hope, is the main clause, and che loro stiano bene is the dependent clause that uses the subjunctive, stiano. In this case, the keywords that we can memorize are desiderare, to desire, to wish, sperare, to hope, volere, to want, augurare, to wish, to hope. These verbs are used to indicate a wish, a hope, a desire in Italian, and when they are in the main clause, the dependent clause is going to use the subjunctive. So it's not that bad so far, is it? The third main case when we are going to use the subjunctive in Italian is when the verb of the main clause indicates something probable or impossible. For example, è probabile che lui sia arrivato. It is likely that he arrived. È probabile, main clause indicating that something is probable. And then, che lui sia arrivato is the dependent clause that uses the subjunctive. Sia arrivato. The keywords that we can memorize here are può darsi, it could be, è impossibile, it's impossible, sembra, it seems, è probabile, it's likely. So these are the three main uses that we can keep in mind for using the subjunctive in Italian. To recap, the first case is when the verb of the main clause indicates an opinion, a doubt, a thought. The second case is when the verb of the main clause indicates a wish, a hope, a desire. The third case is when the verb of the main clause indicates something probable or impossible. So you see, Italian grammar doesn't have to be that hard. And if you want a summary of what we talked about today, make sure that you download your learning map at italianmatters.com/45. Grazie di aver imparato un po' di italiano con me oggi. Ci vediamo di nuovo settimana prossima. Ciao!